Duckler. The race cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a Duckler. Might solve the mystery or rewrite history. DuckTales. Ooh. Every day they're out there making DuckTales. Ooh. Tales of daring, do bad and good luck tales. Danger, watch behind you. There's a stranger out to find you. What to do? Just grab onto some DuckTales. Woo! Every day they're out there making DuckTales. Woo! Tales of daring, do bad and good luck tales. Woo! Not ponytails or cottontails, no DuckTales. Woo!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest episode of I'm No Joe, your home for all things combat sports and the place where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. The views and opinions presented on the I'm No Joe channel belong solely to the person expressing them, no one else. If we say it, that means we meant it. That being said, this show does contain adult themes, adult content, and general shit that you shouldn't be letting your kids intake. Be advised, viewer discretion is recommended. Proceed at your own risk. You've been warned. If it's Thursday, it's I'm No Joe. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. Today, as like some days, I have got Golf T here with me, and the kid should be here. He's closing at work tonight, so he's running a little later than usual. He should be trickling in right about the time we finish up some news, so we will get to him when he gets here. But first and foremost, how the hell you doing, Golf T?
Not too bad, but I think you misspoke. Running late is different from running scared. Look, you got lucky once. Then shit got thrown out, so it's all luck the first time. That's all I'm saying. Running scared, it's fucking different. There's levels to this game.
I'm not one to put words in somebody's mouth, but, I will not prevent anyone else from doing so.
No, I hope he gets here. I'm ready. Albeit, not a whole hell of a lot to make a shit ton of noise about, but at least we got something better than last weekend. That
is very, very true. As we often do around here, we would like to begin with a little bit of a recap. And by little, I actually genuinely do mean little now, because of the, I think, 15 total matches that went on last weekend, there are quite literally 5 to talk about. To be fair, credit where credit is due, like I always say, the entirety of the main card of BKFC last weekend, every single match ended in a finish. Every fucking one. Somebody got slept, somebody got dropped, somebody got blown the fuck out. Something happened in every single fight on the main card that resulted in a finish. There were no judges required for that. That I do commend those fighters for as a whole.
What I want to commend them for on BKFC, those goddamn body shots last weekend. Holy
my goodness. Body shots were absolutely the fucking theme of the evening for last weekend's BKFC event. They were on display in several fucking matches and were a literal determining factor. And I think 3 of the 6 stoppages on the main card, including the fucking main event. So yeah, body shots, boys and girls, pay attention. If your hands ain't here, they should be covering here, or both, because you need to protect the face and the body. And if you're guarding one and they're hitting the other, switch intelligently. Don't stand there and keep eating shots. Oh, Cochran.
It's a mess last
Oh
week.
my goodness.
Surprised we didn't see kidneys and livers laying out on the fucking floor in the ring.
Yeah. I will say one thing that absolutely has to be mentioned for multiple reasons that happened last weekend on the BKFC card. Alexander Houston versus Wes Combs. So on one hand, I absolutely understand when you have been training to do a certain thing for 2.5 decades. I think they said he has got in it now, almost 3 decades, a specific way. I understand that habit is going to be intensely hard to break. On the other hand, if you sign a contract that says you're going to stand up and when people fall, you let them. When people fall, you let them. You sure the fuck do not go in for that MMA finishing diving one shot. And that is exactly what Houston Alexander did in the fucking boxing ring, boys and girls. It wasn't like this fight was incredibly competitive to begin with. It was very almost foreshadowing of how the next night's events were going to go. It really fucking was in hindsight now. But when Alexander caught him, he was going down solid, no question about it. But by the time he landed, Alexander was already cocked and sprung halfway forward, coming with a follow-up MMA style ground and pound finishing shot. And he fucking landed it. And you can see in the replay, Combs was already literally unconscious, hitting the mat when Alexander hit him. He didn't even react to the shot. He was that out when it hit him. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing as far as fucking damage goes to an unconscious fighter, because it was a full force shot. There was no pulling that punch. He fucking got him. But there is something to be said that several current roster UFC fighters could absolutely learn from in that situation. When you fucked up and you know you fucked up, you own that shit. Stand on it right then and there and own that shit. Don't pretend. Don't fucking act. Don't play the, oh, I'm so sorry game. Own that shit. And Houston Alexander, to his fucking credit, owned that shit immediately. And the second Wes Combs was back up, he was the first fucking person right there to fucking make sure he was good and to shake his fucking hand and to apologize like a fucking man right then and there and admit that he fucked up. That lesson could go a long fucking way to several current UFC roster fighters. I would say even 2 or 3 of the Bellator roster fighters could take a fucking note from that shit too.
Yeah, it was a hard thing to watch. It was
weird.
It was weird because, like, in MMA, I would not have flinched. I mean,
that would have had us cheering.
I was like, he did exactly what he was supposed to do. But the way he hit him that first time, and dude just fucking, you saw him go down like a fucking, just a ton of bricks, straight stiff as a board. There was no way he was getting up from a 10 count. But the craziest part of this is I know this was instinct. It wasn't malicious in any way. And I'm not talking the after the fact. It's how fast he followed up after he hit him. That was the autopilot. That was the almost 30 years of training that he's done where it was autopilot to go in and swing. Look, I'm not saying that's okay by any means for you to go from MMA to BKFC and do that. However, I will say I'll give him a pass on this one. Not because he was right for doing it, because he definitely wasn't, but because I could see the autopilot there. There was no thinking about it. And after he did it, like the second he did it, realized he fucked up, he was immediately hands on his head of, oh, fuck, what did I just do?
He went right to his corner. He went right to his corner and said, I fucked up. You could see it clear as day.
Yep.
The first words out of his mouth with his hands on his head to his coach, I fucked up. He
and then
knew it
immediate apology once he was up and back at him. I'm going, that was the perfect way to handle a shitty situation. And I say a shitty situation and you fucked up, but you immediately took responsibility for your action. And I'm sure once he's all good, he's like, man, let me buy you a fucking drink or something. Because at that point, you kind of fucking owe it to the guy, at least a drink, or fucking go take him and his wife out for a steak dinner or some shit, you know?
Yeah, let's go to Ruth Chris.
Fuck. It was gnarly to watch because, I mean, you don't generally, in BKFC, we've seen some knockouts, but not to that extent where, like, he was already stiff. That just kept him stiff longer.
He was a plank going down. You could see it.
Albeit, he did get up, and he was pretty wherewithal once he came back, too, by the looks of it.
Yeah, he came right to his credit. He came right to, and when he did, he was like, oh, shit, yeah, no, you got me, dude. You fucking, you got me, dude. So, yeah, he knew, but still.
I think the one thing that I was surprised about was how BKFC handled it. Like, there was no fucking disqualification or anything, which I thought there should have been.
I did as well. I thought that's how they were going to end that. I didn't think it was going to be a TKO. I figured that was going to be the ref calling a fucking DQ for the foul shot.
Yeah, or possibly even a no contest because it was in the first round inside of a fucking minute. I think was it at like 45 seconds or some shit.
Yeah, like
it was something really early in the round.
Yeah, it was like just under a minute.
Like I could have seen a no contest there, but I was surprised they handled it the way they did. Still allowed him to keep the victory, but I think a lot of that had to do with the way he handled the situation, though, too.
I agree. I think had he fucking showboated on that or pretended he didn't give a shit, turned around and played it like a walk-off, I think that would have been a very different situation. I think that most definitely would have been a fucking DQ, or fucking your purse is gone, fuck you, like a bad turn. But
he acted like a grown fucking man. Unlike another cocksucker that was on the card, that I'm sure this is probably the other one you don't talk about.
Oh yeah, we're getting there next.
He actually acted like a grown fucking man should in that situation. Look, I get it. If it's a street fight, whatever, fuck it. I'm not gonna say anything. But you were under a sanctioned fucking bare knuckle fucking boxing match. He did the right thing, albeit doing the wrong thing at the same time. So.
Right. He made the best out of a bad situation is the way that I look at it. I don't even consider it giving him a pass. I look at it as a scratch. I look at it as the accident combined with the way that it was handled after the fact kind of wash each other.
Yeah, and I have to give him a pass anyways, even if he was to have handled it like shit, just because of how fast that second shot came in. I knew that was an instinctual thing. It wasn't malicious intent.
No, and that's exactly why I wanted to talk about it. And that's why I said it wasn't like he threw, like he saw him fall and then jumped after the fact. You could see as he hit him in the process of seeing him fall, he was already jumped back and coiled and had launched to give a follow-up power shot if the first one hadn't have worked. And it just happened that he was down and he followed him down with it. Like, but he knew the moment it happened that he fucked up, and he owned it and he handled it like a fucking proper sportsman should. Because that situation, not particularly that exact, but a similar situation to that has happened several times in recent memory in several different large organizations, and it was not handled with near the fucking tact and grace that this one was. And that I do have to commend.
And I think, to be quite honest, I hope that they get Houston Alexander back in there again sometime soon. Because to be honest,
I would not be mad at seeing him in there again.
His stand up, as far as boxing is concerned, looked really good.
Yeah, he was clean as shit, man.
Like, to be honest, he could do very well over there as long as he doesn't continue that type of fucking instinctual fucking kill him when he's down shit.
He's got to make the full conversion. He's got to completely flip that switch. There's no more MMA for him. It's only boxing now.
Yeah. If he sticks around there, I think he'll be all right, especially because this is that fucking moment in his mind that's going to stick there forever going, can't do that. Can't fucking do it. He knows he fucked up and he knows he skated by.
Yeah, every time this situation comes back up, that opportunity comes up again, he's going to have that fucking reaction in the back of his head that tells him, stand fucking still. Just hold still. Let it happen.
You know, the only problem I could think with that is if he's got somebody on the ropes and the dude starts to fall, if he hasn't hit the ground yet, is he going to stop hitting him before he hits the ground? Because you can still hit them up until they hit the ground.
You absolutely can. The ropes, that's one of the things about the BKFC rule set is the bell cannot save you in any round, and the ropes cannot save you from a knockdown. Or the ropes cannot prevent or cannot be considered a knockdown. If you're on the ropes, you're still technically up, whether you're hanging on the ropes or you're fucking out on the ropes. Until you fall, you're still in the fight. A little crazy, but I get it, because there are situations where, like you said, a dude is on the ropes and he might be hurt, but he's not fucking even close to out. And if you let off, he's going to come back at you, and he might fucking crack you with a good one because he's hurt.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if that's going to put a hesitation in his step when it comes close to finishing somebody again, which I hope that's not the case. I know from seeing what he did in MMA way back in the day, and I say way back in the day because about 15 years ago, he was a pretty solid fighter.
Well, yeah, he was. 2010, Houston Alexander was a bad motherfucker, legitimately.
Yeah, so, I mean, I really think that he's got something that he could do well there. Just hopefully this is that turning point that says, okay, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I agree. But unfortunately, in the replay, because in the moment it was very hard to tell. Everything in that fight happened very fucking quickly in that situation. But in the replay, when we all watched it a million fucking times back, you could see the second Combs started to go down, the referee started to make his way in. He just wasn't as close or as fast as an already coiled and fucking sprung Houston Alexander. But the referee was on his way to get in there and get a hold of things. Alexander was just right there still and had that kinetic energy already going for him.
Yeah.
Unlike in the next match where we saw the fucking hillbilly hammers, or previous rather, coming. Yeah, no, it was, one and then the other. Either way, the fucking hillbilly hammer matchup. Anybody who has seen 10 seconds of fucking promo from either one of those gentlemen leading up to that fight knew this is going to be a fucking slobber knocker. This is not going to be an exhibition of technical boxing prowess by two large gentlemen who are going to engage in specific sniper-like fisticuff battle for 5 2-minute rounds. This was two large, strong meatheads who were battling for the title, the Hammer. Literally. This was going to be a slobber knocker from the get-go. So for the referee to be literally standing back against the ropes when they fucking went at each other like hungry hippos was the dumbest thing we have seen of anyone involved in the whole event last weekend, in my opinion. You knew damn well somebody was going to get clipped and somebody's going to fucking sleep in that fight. They ain't there to cuddle and be buddies for 10 fucking minutes. And sure enough, Josh Burns, to his credit, absolutely cleaned the fucking clock of Sam Shoemaker. The problem is, like I mentioned here, the referee was on the other side of the fucking ring when it happened, and Josh Burns just also happens to be a gigantic fucking douchebag. So when Shoemaker hit the ground, he literally fucking jumped on top of him and got in his fucking face. But the ref had already started fucking counting on his way across the goddamn octagon. rather than controlling the fucking fighter who was on top of the downed fighter and then worrying about the fucking count, they let this giant redneck piece of shit get in Shoemaker's fucking face, physically preventing him from standing back up to beat the count that was already, for some reason, going against him coming across the fucking ring. So I'm left with two problems here. One, Josh Burns is a gigantic fucking asshat and gets bonus money for that fucking knockout after the fact. So they're encouraging this bullshit. And two, this fucking referee, this official whose sole purpose in this fucking ring is to prevent damage and engage in looking out actively for the safety of both fighters involved and keep the match fair, completely gives up on his fucking job in what is obviously going to be one of the potentially most dangerous bouts on the entire fucking card. Nobody really expected this to be a super precise fucking, technical matchup. Anybody who saw any of this knew this was going to be crazy. So this is Burns being a douche on his fucking best douche note, and the official at the same time just completely pissing all over his own job, in my opinion.
Any fucking referee worth his weight would have ripped that motherfucker from over top of him.
Dude, Big John would have fucking Goldberg shoulder slammed that son of a bitch out of the fucking way.
Dude, go back to the day when John McCarthy was in his prime as a fucking ref. He would have thrown that motherfucker clean across the fucking ring, and he would have hit the other ropes.
And yeah, there wouldn't have been a second thought about it.
No. I mean, fuck, Mike Beltran would have done the fucking same thing.
Damn right. He'd have hip checked that son of a bitch right into next Tuesday so he could cover fucking Shoemaker.
Yeah. Not to mention the starting the count while he's still fucking hanging over him without pulling him off.
Yeah.
What was that bullshit? You literally cost the guy at least 2 or 3 seconds. Not that he was actually getting up or anything, but
Still, yeah. Like, how are you going to start a count on a guy while you still have an active fighter fucking with him down?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many.
It bugged me a lot, clearly.
There were so many goddamn things that went through my mind when saying that, as far as look, you got 2 meatheads that just don't fucking like each other in there. That's bound to happen. Okay, we get that. But the fucking refs not being able to maintain order in their look, the ring is not the fighter's arena. That is the referee's arena. That's their job to maintain order in their arena, albeit a chaotic order because it's a fight.
It's still prize.
But they still have to maintain order. It's no different than a fucking regular boxing referee. You see those motherfuckers get in there with heavyweights that are fucking pint size, and they're shoving those motherfuckers clean apart.
Yeah, they don't give a fuck.
Yeah, so I mean, it's no different. They really need to work on who they're getting as fucking referees for these BKFC cards, because there's some of those things could be fucking stopped and fixed and just make it a little bit cleaner. If you really want BKFC to go far, you need to have the right referees doing the right things. Don't get me wrong. Every once in a while, we get the Dan Murgliata in there in BKFC where he's a no-nonsense kind of fucking guy. He's not going to put up with that bullshit. He'd be the same motherfucking guy to fucking toss somebody across the fucking ring. But a lot of the referees that they had for this last event, does anybody know who they were? They look like they were all state commissioned that had no fucking business being in there.
Yeah, and to be fair, I understand, because this was literally the first time they had ever been with BKFC, had ever been legalized and sanctioned in Nebraska. So I'm absolutely certain at least a couple of these guys that we saw doing shit jobs were local Omaha boys who were just there because literally 50% of the roster of this card was local Omaha area fighters. So I get that. This is an Omaha show. You're highlighting Omaha fighters. You've got to bring in X amount of Omaha referees. But if you're trying to make a good impression, that's not how you fucking do it. You better be a little more particular with what referees you let work in your organization, because they represent you as well in that moment.
It was a weird thing to see that. I mean, I just thought it was highly unprofessional and really fucked up.
I completely agree.
And look, no love lost on the fighters, man. You did. I get it. You guys dislike each other. You do you. It's the ref's job is to keep you to a fucking part when you need to be pulled apart.
Just got a message from the kid. He's on his way here, but he's on the interstate and there's an accident, so he's going slow. We'll see.
Running. We're not going to say what kind of running, but he's running.
We'll see.
You know,
but
it makes me think, and I hate to say this about the ref situation, makes me think Mario Yamasaki should have been in there for some questionable bullshit.
he definitely would have been way more understandable, way more, I would say, easier to take at a glance in this situation. You're like, oh, that was Yamasaki? That makes sense. Okay, I see why he got the shot in on the ground. Yamasaki was standing on the other side of the ring looking at an angle instead of right up in the shit. So, yeah, I could get that. But ironically enough, in the fucking main event, we had a spectacular referee who was right up in the shit, keeping an eye on things absolutely all throughout the 9 times that Dakota Cochran got fucking dropped throughout the match before that shit got stopped. I will say this, Mike Richmond came in and put on an absolute fucking clinic on body work. Like, we mentioned that it played a part in several of these fights. There were some big body shots in the Shoemaker Burns fight that led to that fucking droppage as well. There were some big body shots early on in that Alexander fucking Houston versus West Combs fight. There were big body shots in several of the fights going in, but the Mike Richmond versus Dakota Cochran fight was a masterclass on how to implement them perfectly. He dropped Cochran with just body shots 3 times in the first round alone, after he had already turned his nose completely fucking sideways, 90-degreed his fucking nose in the first 30 seconds of the fight. Mike Richmond came in and was on fucking point. I am telling you, that man is going to be a big fucking problem over there. And the reason I am so sure of that is because after that match, he did what all of us watching were hoping he was going to do and got rid of that stupid fucking attempt at a handlebar mustache he had crookedly coming off the top of his damn lip. He has since gotten rid of that bitch. I saw an interview with him today. It is gone. He looks like a normal human. I can be on Team Richmond. We can do this now. So let's go, Mike. No, he went out there and just literally made Dakota Cochran look like a goddamn amateur, top to bottom, start to finish, beat him how, where, when, and wherever he fucking wanted to, until that referee jumped in to save him, because he was not coming back from that count. He was literally down on a knee, just bleeding out on the fucking canvas, giving the referee a head shake that you could see clear as day. He didn't want no more. That shit was fucking over. So I got to agree with what Mike Richmond said in that interview yesterday. He is in that position now where, after both of the displays that he has put on in his performance in BKFC, at this point, he either wants a title shot or he wants the guy who's in front of him for the title shot before that guy gets the title shot, because he's on a roll right now and he wants to prove why he should be the guy in that conversation as opposed to whoever may be in front of him. And I got to agree, after that performance Saturday night, that's a bad man. And he is putting on fucking master classes every time he comes out there. There's not a lot of competition, as far as I can tell, for getting in his fucking way. That dude's going to be heading for a fucking belt full of gold real goddamn quick.
And the one thing I will say about that fight was talk about heart, getting dropped 4 times in the first round and still coming out for the second. And I don't know if that's heart. Well, it's hard on his part, but also stupidity on his corner's part for letting him come out for the second.
Yeah, a little of both. I agree. Because had I been in that man's corner, I don't know that I would have let him come out for 2 rounds of that shit. Like,
no, because that
body shots, the flattened nose, all in a span of 2 fucking minutes, bro. Let's go to Sizzler. We can talk about this tomorrow. You don't need no more of that.
Look, when your nose was almost as bad as the aluminum Mike Perry's, dude, there's a fucking issue there. But then 3 body shot knockdowns, dude,
hard too. Not just convenient combos, like hard body shot drops that the referee had to step in because he was on the canvas for it.
At that point, after the first round, you should have said, you know what? Today's obviously not my day. Let's live to fight another day, take a little less damage. Let's get the fuck out of here. Toss the towel in, save your fighter. His corner did an absolute shit job in protecting him. Thank God he only had 1 more knockdown in that fucking second round, but still, it was 1 more knockdown that he didn't need to take. To be honest, I think they should have gotten him out of there after that third one. I was surprised they didn't throw the towel in after the third knockdown, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially considering it was right at the fucking bell.
Yeah. And again, this is one of those situations where we were talking about earlier where no fighter can be saved by the bell in any round. So it was one of those like, oh shit, what are we going to do here situations? Like, this could go either way. And
taped up towel for a reason. Throw that motherfucker at the referee.
Yeah. I genuinely felt like flashbacks of fucking Anthony versus Glover. Like, there were moments where Richmond, you could tell, could have went ham and just fucking waylaid him and fucking put Cochran out. But he didn't. He stayed precise, he stayed technical, and he let Cochran stay in it. He gave him a chance all the way through it. He was a good sport about it. Like, he wasn't like CM Punk versus fucking Mike Jacksoning it. But like, he let Cochran stay competitive as long as Cochran was competitive. He could have bull rushed him and give him the fucking Josh Burns treatment, but he didn't.
It was a tad bit strange, to be quite honest. I just thought the ending of it was weird because and I don't say weird in the way as in I didn't think he was going to get finished. I knew he was going to get finished,
right?
But it was weird in the way that I thought his corner should have fucking saved him because
tossed. Yeah, I
if
agree.
You take
that should have been a towel.
4 knockdowns in 2 minutes. That fight is over. There's a reason why boxing, if you get knocked down 3 times in a round, the fucking fight is over.
It's toast.
Yeah.
BKFC did not adopt that rule on purpose to encourage the action.
Look,
we saw 4 knockdowns in round 1, and all 4 of them were bad fucking knockdowns. Yeah. Any decent corner, I would think, would have thrown that fucking towel.
No shit. I'm not gonna lie. I was quite fucking thoroughly impressed at the amount of heart he had to get up and go, yeah, I'm ready to keep going. I'm going.
And he did. He did too. Every time he got knocked down in that first round, he got right back up and he was like, no, fuck yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
To be honest, his new nickname should be the Glutton for Punishment.
Oh, shit.
Because that's what it was. You
gotta feel bad for him at that point. Sorry, just got a message real quick. But that will bring us on to the absolute fucking dumpster fire that was the fucking Triller event on September 11th. There's no way to sugarcoat it. It was bad. It was not just as an event, not as a concert, not as a fight, as a whole. Overall, it was bad. The fucking Trump commentary was obnoxious. Hearing Junior Dos Santos and Jorge Masvidal suck up to Donald Trump was really fucking gross. Hearing Trump pretend he knew shit and them fucking yes manning him was really fucking gross. I was very surprised to say the best slash most accurate commentator I heard of the entire evening on that fucking show was 50 Cent. Literally, he knew his boxers, he knew his history, he knew his match results. Like he was Joe Rogan-esque with the boxing knowledge, on the fly, was correcting the fuck ups from the other commentators and shit. Like Fiddy legitimately had boxing knowledge. And I will give fucking credit where credit is due here for that. That being said, the actual boxing matches that took place on this card slash concert slash event, I say with bunny ears for those of you listening, were overall fairly terrible for the most part. David Hayes versus Fabiano went exactly as you would expect a professional boxer versus a rich guy who's been in a couple of amateur matches would go. Hayes looked like he had taken a little time off, but not a lot. And Fabiano looked like an amateur who wanted to step up against an older guy and test himself, and he wasn't fucking ready yet. Props to Hayes for still having a fucking right. Oh shit. He was flicking that bitch. He was flicking that bitch for show. But the two bread and butter points that everyone actually should have, I say loosely, paid attention to on this card, if you paid attention to anything involved with this shit show, the co and the main events. The co-main event was, I will say, a little bit surprising in the events that unfolded leading up to it. I don't think the end result was really too surprising to anyone who's been watching the lead up to this play out. But how we got there was a little bit of a ooh kind of thing. Anderson Silva literally knocked Tito Ortiz out cold in, I believe it was 1 minute and 17 seconds. They called it officially. It was absolutely under 1.5 minutes. He baby elephant planted him flat on the fucking canvas, out cold. Here we go. Yeah, 1 minute 20 even in the first round is what they called it officially. Just shut his fucking lights out cold. Tito did exactly what everyone watching this lead up thought he was going to do. He didn't make the 195-pound limit. Got to 200.4 pounds from 246 4 weeks out. So there is an amount of credit that has to be given there for cutting 40 literal pounds in 4 weeks and still coming in to fight. That is not easy unto itself. So there is a serious amount of dedication you could tell Tito did put into this.
That was basically 1/5 of his fucking weight.
Yeah, he literally cut a chunk of himself away just to do this fight. So there is credit you have to give him there for that. Unfortunately, though, being a gigantic fuck like Tito is, he did not make the 195-pound limit that they signed the contract to meet at. So he automatically had to give Anderson Silva 20% of what people are saying now was most likely a $20 million purse. This was a serious boo-boo on his wallet, for real. The problem is that despite what he said, despite all the shit that he talked, despite what he tried to sell as his ability to come in here and bully Anderson Silva, question mark, what he actually did is kind of what everyone had a feeling he was going to do. And he tried to pedal to the metal right out of the gate as soon as the bell starts and literally put the pressure on Anderson so that he could land a power shot and just try and end it quick. The problem is when you've cut 1/5 of your body weight off of you in the last 4 weeks, and then show up and try and give everything you've got against a guy who can easily make this weight and has gas to dance literally all night long if he needs to, you're gonna be a little sluggish, and he's not. And that's exactly what we saw. Tito came in there looking slow, but you could tell he was definitely giving everything he had, trying to land nothing but power shots. And Anderson Silva was Anderson fucking Silva. He's the spider. He's the man that most people recognize for the hands down, nope, not gonna fucking touch me. Like Floyd Mayweather wishes he was as smooth as Anderson fucking Silva is. And he did exactly that. When Tito tried to corner him, like Anderson Silva has literally been known to let people do, Tito went right into the trap and he tried to swing his fucking head off. And you watched him slow down in real time as Anderson was just dipping and bobbing and weaving, and nothing was fucking touching him. And anything that came close, he put his hands up and it touched right on the fucking middle of the hair, or right on the fucking the ball of the back of the glove. Nothing got through and touched him. And as soon as Tito left that opening, here comes one of the sweetest fucking combos from Anderson. And you see Tito's face go down and get caught on the rope. And he is hung on the rope. He is on his way to being shot off. But the rope is keeping him upright. And Anderson, as he goes around him, lands another shot on him as he goes. And he just timbers face first right down onto the fucking canvas. Statue of Liberty arm up in the air, nose pressed flat, sniffing canvas glue. That's all she wrote, ladies and gentlemen. The spider has struck. I think the worst part for me about how that played out is that after the fact, like literally within, I think it was less than 5 minutes of him getting knocked the fuck out, being woke up and then taken backstage, he was already on Twitter trying to call out a fight for Jake or Logan Paul. And then we come to find out that on the plane ride home, Anderson had a first class ticket, Tito had a first class ticket, but for whatever reason, Tito's girlfriend ended up with a business class ticket. So being the ever fucking consummate gentleman that Anderson Silva is, he quite literally gave up his first class seat on the way back to LAX to Tito's girlfriend and went back to fucking commercial class, back with the rest of the schlubs, so that Tito in his loser fucking state and his poor girlfriend could have first class seats together, because that's the type of fucking great guy Anderson Silva is. Even after he beats your ass, he gives up his seat to your girlfriend in first class. Because Anderson Silva. Hats off to you, sir. Hats the fuck off. He and Dana White even said this in a press meeting last night. Anderson Silva very well might be the GOAT of combat sports, period. Not P for P, not any different fucking specific little niche, just overall the fucking GOAT of combat sports. He can do jiu-jitsu, he can do MMA, he can do boxing, he can do the Wing Chun bullshit, he can do the Bruce Lee. Like he looked spectacular Saturday night. He really fucking did. I'm very curious to see what's going to be next for him, because at this point he's at that tipping stage where if he keeps doing this, he's not going to get lesser opponents and smaller paychecks. He's at the point now, he's performed enough. He's going to start to get some pretty legitimate names, and he's going to get big paydays as a 40-something ex-UFC star. That's a very interesting thing unto itself, I think.
To be quite honest, I hope he doesn't. Namely for the fact I don't want to see him punch drunk. Because if he still has the wherewithal, like, just to be the consummate fucking amazing human being that he is, giving up his first class seat, I don't want him to end up in a state of Muhammad Ali where towards the end you couldn't fucking tell heads or tails because he was punch drunk. Yeah, the dude's a fucking amazing human being. He's got a lot to offer the world, obviously, outside of martial arts. Because look, anybody can give up a fucking seat on a plane, but he's been constantly doing that kind of thing for a long time, and it's just never gotten traction. The reason it got the traction is because Tito Ortiz made it a point to make a post about it, to say, hey, thank you, what an amazing human being after a fight and all this trash talk. Still went out of his way to do this for him.
Yep.
Look, that's why it gained the traction it did. But he's been doing this stuff all along. That's the kicker.
He is. Yeah, that's
just
literally him.
It's the kind of person he is. He's always the give to somebody else. Even when he was reigning as fucking champ, he didn't talk a whole lot of shit. I mean, he did during fights, by the way,
Right.
move and make people look stupid.
Yeah.
All of the Forrest Griffin super fight that was, and I say super fight because that's what it was marketed to be way back in the day.
To be fair, it was.
I mean, it's just the kind of person he is. I don't want to see him all fucked up, so I'd rather him not get into this too much deeper, because he is getting towards that age bracket where more damage you take, the worse it ends up getting.
I can see that, because at this point, yeah, he literally, regardless of what he decides he's going to do, he needs to be starting to wind down the active combat sports engagement. I would agree, because he's one of those that he's been doing martial arts since he was a child, and he's 40 something, so the miles are starting to add up, and he went from MMA to straight boxing, so now it's from full body damage back to primarily all fucking head damage again. So
maybe at this point, let's take it down another notch. Go take out people in jiu-jitsu. Just start a hit list.
Call Chael. How fucking ironic would it be, after the fucking rivalry that he and Sonnen had all those fucking years ago, that he comes over and starts sweeping through submission underground now? You know damn well he's capable of it. How fucking great, how much of a sell it self-promotion would that be?
What do you think? Do you think Chael would offer himself up on the chopping block to fucking get in there?
That's what I'm wondering. Like, if Anderson comes over there and he wrecks shop on a couple of the big name dudes, could he draw the bad guy back into his own organization? Because I tell you what, if anyone in the world can, it's Anderson fucking Silva. All he has to do is get in front of any camera and just say, Chael Sonnen, you absolutely suck, and drop the microphone.
That would be an immediate.
I'm getting goosebumps fucking thinking about it right now. I'm not bullshitting you.
Just saying, I wouldn't mind seeing him go the jiu-jitsu route. Look, there's plenty of jiu-jitsu out there to be had, especially when it comes to age brackets. They do age brackets and whatever your belt class is and all that, your level of fucking jiu-jitsu.
They match you appropriately, yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So you'll get matched appropriately. You're not going to get matched with some fucking yoked out fucking 26-year-old who's just as high a level of jiu-jitsu as you are, you know? I mean, to be honest, I think that's a little bit safer of a bet. But, you know, Anderson being Anderson, he's going to do what he wants to do. Eventually, he'll get to the point where I think we'll see him tail off and possibly go into jiu-jitsu. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to ride the boxing train until the wheels start to fall off. Because this is kind of how he did his MMA career. He fucking started really quick, knocking people out, beating people that they didn't think he was going to beat. Like, they didn't think he was going to beat Chavez. They thought Chavez was going to outpoint him.
They thought he was going to point the shit out of him. Yeah, they thought it wasn't even going to be close.
Yeah. What's he do? Beat Chavez Jr. So, and then comes in,
so
knocks out what I'll say is a wrestler, because that's what Tito Ortiz is.
Yeah.
But, you know, good on Tito Ortiz for actually taking it on short notice after somebody else dropped out. But either way, I still think that we'll see at least one more match on Triller for him. And I think that's going to be when old shitbag McGee gets out of his COVID quarantine.
Yeah, that very well could be. I have a feeling, though, I think that might be his last big payday. And I think he's going to end up really transitioning to be his kid's cornerman, though, because his kid is a fucking badass kickboxer. His kid has stated multiple times now he doesn't have any desire to go into MMA. He knows his father's legacy and he's not trying to compete with that. He's trying to blaze his own trail in kickboxing, and he's a fucking badass at it. And Anderson, obviously being the fucking proud father, likes being in his son's corner. So I have a feeling there might be a chance we're going to see him transition from the fighter to the cornerman as his son starts to really commit to this seriously, like he seems to be doing.
Oh, yeah. So, and, you know, I like how the kid says he's not going to chase his father's dream, but I have a feeling he's going to run the table so hard in kickboxing that there's going to be that day when he's probably about 23 or 24. And I say that because I figured about 5 years, maybe 6 years, all of a sudden you're going to see another Silva with Anderson Silva in the corner coming into MMA, whether it be Bellator or UFC. But I think it would most likely be UFC because Dana White's going to go, your son, come on over.
Well, that and I know I'm going to catch shit for it, and I don't fucking care. But Anderson Silva's son's kickboxing style and his mentality really gives me 2013, 2014 Israel Adesanya vibes. Joe Rogan, we've seen the text message published multiple times now. Joe Rogan was asking Israel Adesanya in 2012, when are we going to see you in the UFC? And his response was, as soon as I feel like I'm ready, and I'm not there yet, but I will be. And in 2014, he asked him again, and he told Joe Rogan, soon, I'm almost there. Now he's the fucking champion, and he's literally lapping the middleweight division. I get a lot of that same style, that same mentality, that same kind of path vibe from Anderson Silva's son. I feel like he might be on one of those paths where he's just such a bad motherfucker that he has honed his fucking craft so well, he just starts kicking ass and taking names in the kickboxing world, and he essentially gets bored. And he goes, you know what? Fuck it. Dana offered me a truckload and a half of money to fight some fucking no-name. Let's fuck him up and get paid. And then he realizes, oh, this is kind of easy with the skills that I've got. And then you see what he's really capable of. And then you know how that path goes.
Yeah. I could see that, especially if anybody who hasn't seen it, go look for Anderson Silva's son's professional debut. Fucking ridiculous. The kid is fucking amazing,
man. He's a badass.
It obviously the apple did not fall very far from that tree at all.
Oh, fuck no, not in that situation.
Stylistically, it might be a little different, but goddamn it, it didn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah, no, natural talent wise, that they're peas in a fucking pod for sure.
Fuck yeah, but I mean, if you're growing up around it, chances are you're gonna pick up a thing or two from dad.
Right? Yeah, the osmosis factor, it's got to rub off at least a little bit in that situation. Shit. But that'll bring us to the absolute fucking rolling dumpster fire that was the unbelievable quote unquote main event Saturday night. Before we even talk about the fight itself, I just want to say this. The fact that they tried, well, they didn't try to, they did, that they replaced Oscar De La Hoya with Evander Holyfield, and it was such a blatantly obvious mismatch that neither California or New York would sanction the bout, and the first state that was willing to let them do it was Florida. So that's where they moved the entire event to for this one fight. They John Jones this whole fucking event because they replaced Oscar De La Hoya with Evander Holyfield. We talked about it last week. When you saw him hitting pads, he didn't look like he had any business in a professional boxing ring. If you were going to put him against another 58-year-old that was that slow, maybe 24-ounce gloves, rock'em sock or bop'em sock fucking style, maybe 4 2-minute rounds, maybe. I can see that. 8 2-minute rounds against a very clearly juiced to the fucking tits TRT Tour beat fucking Vitor Belfort. No, there was absolutely no reason whatsoever that fight should have been sanctioned in any state to begin with. It's a little disheartening that Florida was like, oh, fuck yeah, bring that money on down here. We'll let you do whatever the fuck you want. Like, you would hope they had a little more scruples than that, but no. That being said, the fight went exactly the way you would think a 58-year-old man against a clearly juiced 40-year-old man would look. Vitor came out and just absolutely danced around Evander and landed a couple of really good fucking shots. Evander landed a couple of pretty decent shots, pretty clean shots, was still moving okay in general, not great by any stretch of the imagination, not better than Vitor, which was clearly a fucking problem. Vitor did legitimately drop Holyfield with it was almost a combination of like a missed body shot into a quick uppercut to get past the guard, and it kind of knocked him off balance, and it did drop him. It did knock him down. It wasn't really a Vitor came out and did this technical thing and beat the shit out of him. It was he landed a clean shot in the clinch, and it caught him off guard, knocked him backwards a little bit, knockdown. Evander got up, no problem. My problem comes when Vitor really stepped on the gas and tried to put it to Evander, and then Evander fell. And from 3 different point of view cameras watching it in slow motion, you could see that as Evander tries to back up, Vitor's foot is quite literally directly in front of Evander's as he's backing up. And as his foot clips him, Evander falls backwards. They not only call that a knockdown, they call that a fight-ending knockdown. No 10 count, just wave it off. We've seen shitty stoppages like that before, but this one kind of took the concept of shitty stoppages and then took it into a truck stop bathroom, smoked some dirty ice with it, and then called some lot lizards. Like, this one ramped it up to 13 and broke the fucking knob off. After this embarrassment of a fucking fight ended, Vitor lost his goddamn mind and then immediately got on the microphone and called out Jake Paul, saying that he's his daddy, he's going to bend him over his knee and spank him, and they're going to give him $25 million to do it. And as if that wasn't bad enough, one of the co-owners of Triller, who was clearly on something with gigantic pupils and a strong sense of urgency talking through clenched teeth, grabbed the microphone from Vitor in the moment and says, you know what? Fuck that. Jake Paul, you fight Vitor Belfort, we'll give you $30 million. Or, if that's not good enough, Canelo, come fight Vitor on Triller, we'll give you $40 million. Woo! And then proceeds to dance around the fucking ring like a Muppet. As if it wasn't bad enough of an event to begin with. The entire circus display that took place after the fact of that embarrassment of a quote unquote fight was beyond off-putting. And the worst thing about it is that people paid $50 fucking to watch that. I didn't. I don't know many people that did, but people did. People paid for that shit. So as if that wasn't bad enough, we actually got medical suspension lists from the Florida Athletic State Commission for the Triller event last Saturday. They were released first thing this morning, Thursday. There were 2 medical suspensions from the entire card. The first one was Tito Ortiz, who was suspended by the Florida Athletic Commission for 60 days due to being knocked out. The second medical suspension was Evander Holyfield, suspended for 30 days due to losing a bout via TKO. So the commission clearly understood what was going on, and to make it look sanctionable, they even handed down a pair of laughably bad medical suspensions on top of everything. Just fucking ridiculous. So from there, we will move along because that was fucking stupid. We did have a small little chunk of news here. Oh, we got a finger.
I got one dirty little secret about that. I am proud to say that I did not watch 1 second of that bullshit. Anything I needed to know came via a news outlet because fuck Triller.
Yeah,
That
was
is all.
bad overall. I don't know that I have heard one person, period, say, you know what? I'm so glad I bought that Triller event this weekend. Not fucking one. I've seen plenty of people talk about the events, about the results of the fights that happened, but I don't know one single person who's like, you know what? That was a great investment of my $50. There's reason for that. But moving along from that shit show, we did have a little bit of news here, especially some that literally was breaking as we were going on air. The first one here, we have got an official main and co-main event for the Bellator 268 card taking place October 16th. This card will be headline main evented by Vadim Nemkov versus Anthony Rumble Johnson at 205. Spectacular fucking fight. And it will be co-main evented by Benson Henderson versus Brent Primus, which is also going to be a very fucking interesting fight in my opinion as well. Ironically enough, the following week will be the Bellator 269 nice card in Russia. The Fedor, I believe it's one of 3 farewell tour cards they're calling it now. And as if it wasn't enough of a memorable card in terms of Bellator matchups and events taking place in fucking Russia, for crying out loud, they are going to go for another Bellator first on this card. They are going to have brothers Anatoly and Vladimir Tokov both fighting on the same card for the October 23rd card, which, regardless of anything else taking place on that card, is legitimately a pretty fucking cool event because they've done a lot of family-oriented fights like this before. They've had husband and wives fight on the same card. They've had father and sons fight on the same card multiple different times now. So for them to be able to get a chance to have a pair of brothers fighting on the same card, Russian brothers fighting in Moscow, for fuck's sake, on a Bellator main event, or on a Bellator fucking pay-per-view rather, like, that's pretty fucking cool. That's a smart move by Scott Coker, in my opinion here. That's absolutely going to tap a little bit of that fucking Russian market that might otherwise be inclined to think UFC first right off the bat to take a second look at fucking Bellator now, because clearly Bellator has a similarly deep paycheck to the UFC, as we've seen them demonstrate several times recently. And Scott Coker is not afraid to sign somebody to come kick some ass, even if you don't have the most experience, if you have some potential. So very smart move, in my opinion, on the Bellator card to do that. We got a little bit of a weird announcement here. Chatri Satyang came out and did an interview and talked about how they are basically showcasing a gigantic 1X card taking place on December 5th. John Hands of Stone Lineker will be getting a title shot on this card. Gary Tonin will be getting a title shot on this card. And one Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson will be competing in a special event match against Rodtang Jitmanyang in a special rules match. The first round will be Muay Thai with 4-ounce UFC gloves. The second round will be full MMA rules. The third round will be back to only Muay Thai rules. And then the fourth round will be back to MMA rules once again. This is one of the things that really makes one as popular as they are around the world. They're not just showcasing MMA events as a whole. Their cards quite literally stack down. There will be multiple kickboxing events. There will be, I believe there's 2 kickboxing matches, 3 Muay Thai matches, this special match, and then I think there's 8 MMA matches on it as well. So they quite literally showcase all of the varieties of the mixed martial arts in the term mixed martial arts, as well as the event of mixed martial arts as a whole on the same card. And I like the way they do that. And I think this match with both rule sets in the same bout is going to be very, very interesting. I have a feeling there's going to be some potential for a Alexander Houston v. Wes Combs-esque moment in this, when we're in a Muay Thai round and both of them want to go MMA and vice versa. I hope we don't, obviously, but I think going back and forth with rule sets between rounds like that is just beyond confusing for a fighter. I think that's a little bit too much. I get it. It's weird and it's cool and it's still technically all MMA, but it kind of feels like it's really tipping the scale hard in the favor of Rodtang, who in his own right is a fucking young badass motherfucker unto himself. He is a fucking 26-year-old fucking prodigy. That dude's a beast in his own fucking world. But it really feels like they are tipping the scales heavily to give him every opportunity he can to beat the shit out of DJ, to kind of make a name for himself, more so than they are giving DJ an opportunity to present himself to the Muay Thai world.
That's going to be banging. Anybody who doesn't watch Rodtang or Rodtang, go fucking find his highlights or just watch a couple of his matches. All of his matches are highlights. The dude is a legitimate bad motherfucker. Totally worth the watch if you haven't seen him.
Yeah, and then as if they weren't flexing hard enough, they also signed Nikki Holtzkin to fucking one this week. Like, one did very, very well for themselves this week. But we also got some interesting news back on the UFC side of the world here. There was some rumors, I will say. Nothing was concrete, nothing was set in stone, but there was some strong implications for a minute there that we might see a very undesirable matchup taking place when it should have been a rematch. and then everything went quiet for a little while, which is usually a bad sign when it follows rumors like that. This is one of the rare situations where all parties going silent did not result in fuckery. It actually got us exactly what we wanted. We got the announcement that it is officially confirmed UFC 269, December 11th, will feature Brandon Moreno versus Figgy Smalls 3, the run back, even Figgy Small here.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. Happy birthday to fucking me, because that's my birthday, and that's gonna be a fantastic card to fucking watch now.
I mean, that's a hell of a good present, in my opinion. I would be happy if I got that fight on my birthday. So, yeah, that's gonna be a pretty fucking good fight to begin with.
Fucking bro.
Yeah, especially as late as it should be in the evening, like a normal fucking fight. So it'll be fun time back then. But following up on the 269, we also got an announcement for the December 18th card. The following weekend, we will see Josh Parisian stepping back into action against Dante Miles. Dante Mays. Take that, strike it, reverse it. That will be another very interesting matchup of the big men prospects. Neither one of them necessarily the most technical, but both very, very up and coming, strong heavyweight prospects. So I think this is kind of a meeting of the heads, as it were, to see which one starts to actually get a push and which one stays down with the other peons, as it were. We also got a video released this week that I don't know if everyone has seen yet, but if you have not, once this episode is over, do yourself a favor and take 2 minutes, go over into your YouTube search bar and look up Jan Blachowicz, Polish Ninja Warrior. You're welcome. I will say this. For a man who quite clearly cuts down to 205 pounds, he's still pretty goddamn agile. He does it's basically a quintuple stone, but a climbing version of it in an arc. He does the fucking swing rope. His undoing is when he gets onto the fucking wobble steps, literal teeter stones on springs. And he makes it through, I think, 2 or 3 of them. And then his big ass is just too much. And his momentum is going that way, but the stones go that way. And we end up with wet panties. But all in good fun. He's a hell of a good sport about it. I obviously was genuinely impressed that he had made it that far. I didn't know if he was going to make it to the rope swing to begin with, let alone even get to try those fucking wobble steps. But he gave it a hell of a fucking go, and he did not look terrible until it came time to, corner. Then you saw the big man, instead of zigging, he straight zagged into the pool. But still funny shit. 3 obstacles in on a Ninja Warrior course that several other prominent athletes have not made through one of. So props to him for that. Then we got a couple of very interesting announcements. We got one, Cool Hand Luke himself. Luke Sanders has announced his retirement from the UFC and MMA in general. In his Instagram announcement of said retirement, can you quit scratching your ass for a second, Jingle Bells? Thank you. Sorry about that, fucking dogs. In his announcement of retirement, he said, and I quote, "I beat the ass of everyone they put in front of me, and now it's time to move on to bigger and better things in my journey." I will, however, remind everyone, Luke Sanders ends his UFC career at a whopping record of 3-5. One of those 3 being by decision, by the way. So, I don't know his most accurate of statements, beating asses, but say la vie, best of luck going forward in your journey, Mr. Luke Sanders. Following that announcement, we got a little bit of a more substantial announcement in that same vein. We got word that the ever-present perennial contender and Mr. Olivi himself, the infamous Joseph Benavidez, has finally decided to call it a career. He is officially retiring, said that he has realized that at this point he will never make it back to the peak of the game. And if he can't make it to the peak, then he doesn't want to keep competing in it, which is understandable. That is basically the benchmark that pretty much every fighter that does combat sports kind of sets for themselves. When I can't be competitive and I don't stand a legitimate chance at winning the fucking belt and being the best, I don't want to do this anymore. And that's kind of the right way to go about it. Unfortunately for Mr. Benavidez, that is several years later than he probably would have, or probably should have, rather. I probably would have encouraged this move maybe 3 or 4 years ago at the very latest. But, either way, he clearly has done very well for himself in his career, has himself a hell of a fucking other half who is clearly 150% supportive in everything he does, regardless. So, again, hats off to Joey B. Go do something that's not getting your fucking ass kicked for a change, because Lord knows you had enough fucking ass whippings handed to you recently. Time to go do something that's not going to cost your brain cells. It's a fucking hobby, buddy.
No, and he did really good things for the sport. If you look back to like Strikeforce days,
early on, he really legitimately was a fucking pillar of MMA. 100% deserves his place in Hall of Fame, in fucking disputably, in my opinion.
Don't get me wrong. As much as he's done, it's a little bit sad to see him have never worn the UFC belt, because he's done a lot for MMA. However, that doesn't tarnish his legacy at all. The dude always showed up to fight, always went out on his shield. And you can't expect more than that out of any fighter, and he always did it with class.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, absolutely. He has always presented himself as a professional fighter in a world where guys almost made a point to bring over the WWE-esque personalities to try and represent themselves. Joseph Benavidez has always held his head up as a legitimate professional fighter, taking this as seriously as a lot of us hardcores and professionals throughout the industry wish that more people would. He's held his head high and maintained a standard of fucking decency and respect about himself that cannot be denied. So while he might not have been one of my favorites ever, I do have respect for what the man has done and cannot wait to legitimately see him get his jacket as he is inducted into the Hall of Fame like he should be. That being said, though, we did, as if not to be outdone, get one final announcement literally about 2 hours ago now, just before we were getting ready to go live, while I was quite literally doing a last minute update check to see if any MMA news had broken, while I was literally setting up the stream and getting everything ready for us to go live. And sure enough, I'm glad I did, because there was one little nugget that had trickled down the dingleberry pipe of news right before we plopped this steamer down and gave her a live button. And it was kind of a substantial one, much more so than Cool Hand Luke Sanders, much more so than old Joey B, in my opinion. Even we got news just earlier this evening, confirmed by multiple sources now, that none other than the natural born killer himself, Carlos Condit, has decided he is officially retiring from MMA. And I say that with distinction because he made a point to say he is retiring from MMA. He also just won his most recent appearance over on Chael Sonnen's Underground just last month over there, very handily, showing that he's still very, very competent in the jiu-jitsu world. meaning that, like we kind of wish a lot of other fighters with a jiu-jitsu background should do going forward when you're tired of getting punched in the face or just aren't getting the title traction that you feel you should be in your level of dedication, maybe start looking at other options like Submission Underground, where you can win a $10,000 check and a shiny fucking medal around your neck for going in and doing something that doesn't get you CTE. That being said, we are confirmed now that with him officially hanging it up, that means that Carlos Condit calls it a career with a final record of 32-14. 28 of the 32 finishes, or excuse me, 28 of the 32 victories were all knockout, TKO, or submission finishes. Only 4 decisions in his entire fucking career, which quite literally spans 2 decades as a professional. There are very, very few still in the game who can tout even a fraction of the resume that Carlos Condit has. And he is one of the few names I have read tonight that actually makes me a little bit sad, because on one hand, I would absolutely love to see him and Nick Diaz actually get in there, much more than I would like to see Robbie Lawler and Nick Diaz coming up next weekend, supposedly #Wolf tickets. But that, unfortunately, now will never be an option for us. But as much as I respect Benavidez for what he has very obviously done in the world of MMA, you cannot help but tip your fucking cap to Carlos Condit in the very, very same manner for being a legitimate pillar of what the MMA world as we know it is today. So hats off to you, sir. I cannot wait to see what he does going forward, but I know, unfortunately, it will not be in the octagon again.
NBK for a reason, man. Natural born killer for a reason, dude. That dude was fucking phenomenal. I'm sad and glad to see him go at the same time, to be quite honest. He's getting out at the right time before he's completely fuckered. And I mean, he's had a couple wins recently, which has kept him relevant. And I say relevant loosely because he was not going to be anywhere near a title picture anytime soon, ever again.
Now, that and what Max did to him really put a fucking hurting on him after being out for so long for there as well. So,
yeah, I just want to say nothing but the fucking best wishes for that dude moving forward. Hopefully it's fucking nothing but good things. The dude's fucking phenomenal, and the amount of things he's done for the UFC over the last 20 years and MMA as a whole. He was one of those fighters way back in the day that if he was on a pay-per-view, he was reason enough to buy the pay-per-view because you knew what kind of performance you were going to get out of him.
Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely.
Dude was selling point for me all the time. So, I mean,
absolutely agree.
We're talking back when fucking pay-per-views were still only like 40 or 45 bucks or something.
Right.
That tells you how long ago that was.
Oh shit.
As before you had to pay to get into Buffalo Wild Wings to watch fights.
Right. Yeah. Back when you could literally just go to a bar when the fucking pay-per-view was going to be on and watch that bitch while you were sitting there like nothing else was going on.
Oh, yeah. How things have changed.
Right. No shit. Okay. So. Just a moment here. I got a dog that's driving me fucking crazy. I gotta let him out real quick. Be right back.
Well, he steps away. I guess that gives us time to have some fuckery here. Being as I know that there was one other thing that I don't know if he pulled here. Let me see if I can find it real quick here. Oh, fuck. Oh, I can't actually find the other one I wanted to talk about. Oh, here's a off-topic one that I did see today. A one Mr. Mayhem Miller who can't seem to ever get his shit together is now accused of breaking somebody's ribs in a bar fight. Someone who thought he was reformed, but apparently Mayhem still is Mayhem. So Mayhem Miller looking like bad shit coming your way again, man. Dude, get your shit together, Mayhem. It's not an exciting look for you. And not to mention, you should be well past fucking old enough to be getting in bar fights at this point. At this point, I see no reason why Mayhem should still be fucking getting in bar fights. Yeah, fucking terrible things to see, and then as far as some of that shit looks, it's absolutely crazy knowing that that dude is still getting into bar fights. He's got to be pushing well into his 40s now, because Mayhem fought fucking 20 years ago.
Oh, Mayhem.
Yeah,
Mayhem got arrested. Well, Mayhem didn't just get arrested this week. Mayhem got arrested for felony assault this week for the fucking ribs that he broke in that fucking fight.
Yeah, in a bar fight. It wasn't like it was a street fight. It was a fucking bar fight, dude. Supposedly being fucking reformed. Yeah, no, Mayhem's never reformed, dude. I'm thinking he's back on the sauce again.
I agree, man. I agree. As much as I want to see that dude fucking straighten up and fly right, he just can't fucking seem to get it together, it seems like.
Speaking of guys who can't fly right, this does need to be talked about, because I still think this is fucking hilarious, because I did see a little meme post about it. Conor McGregor is kind of like green eggs and ham. He will fight you in a tree. He will fight you here or there. He will fight you fucking anywhere. It doesn't matter. You can be old. You can be young. You can be fucking a rapper. You can be fucking Joe Dirt off the street. That dude just gonna fight. It doesn't matter where the fight's at. I think the greatest thing about that fucking shenaniganry that fucking took place at those fucking Video Music Awards is the post fight conference that he had. I don't even know who Machine Gun Kelly is. All I know is that he's with Megan Fox. What the fuck, man?
Skinny Vanilla Ice rapper wannabes.
He's the epitome of you can take somebody out of the hood, but you can't take the hood out of somebody that's from the hood. Nope. That's just how that works, dude. You're fucking hood.
I wasn't even going to really talk about it. For those who are unaware, at the VMAs this weekend, there was a kerfuffle of sorts between Machine Gun Kelly and Conor McGregor while wearing a fucking bright pink suit. But
were they kerfuffling about who wore it best? Because they were both in pink.
Well, the thing that I have to say, because it is getting completely overlooked by 98% of the places that are talking about this, to be fair, like I say, whether you like it or not, give credit where credit is due. This incident started because Conor McGregor saw Megan Fox, Jesus Christ, saw Megan Fox and saw her standing arm in arm with Machine Gun Kelly and reached out and said, "Hey, do you lot want to take a picture?" When he said that, Machine Gun Kelly shook his head no, and his security guard pushed Conor backwards, spilling his drink and knocking his cane out of his hand. I don't care who the fuck you are. If you're a professional security guard, you know who the fuck Conor McGregor is. You don't fucking shove him like that. Least of all, he's got the giant fucking boot on. He's walking with a goddamn cane. So there's douchebaggery afoot from the jump, literally.
Although,
But that being said, Conor reacted in the exact Conor McGregor fashion you would expect in a slight of that type, and flipped his drink and then started a war.
what I want to know is who is that fucking security? That dude has cojones the size of fucking Texas. Even an injured Conor McGregor will fuck that security guard up that is not MMA trained. He might even be MMA trained, but guaranteed Conor still fucks him up.
Mad half drunk Conor? Yeah, adrenaline fueled? Fuck yeah, son, you're getting fucking worked real quick. It might not be the worst thing in the world, but you're getting worked real quick. So
saying, that dude had fucking cojones the size of fucking Texas, man.
Yeah,
Like
that was a stupid move.
Southern half of the U.S. was holding up that dude's balls after that.
Oh shit!
Fucking craziness.
Oh, but
irony at its finest. Just another reason why. Just leave Conor do Conor, man. Just let him be Conor.
Conor gonna do Conor things. Leave that motherfucker alone. If he just said no and just let him go on, I bet there would have been no issue.
Yeah, and maybe not. Maybe he still would have thrown a drink, but at least there wouldn't have been a fight.
Right, exactly. It would have been easier to handle at that point.
I think the worst handling of that was Dana White. I've got a bunch of fucking rabbit ass killers.
We're in the fight business. Crazy shit happens.
Dana, stop trying to cover his tracks, man. Let the grown ass man be grown ass man and take the hits himself. He's used to it at this point. He don't give a fuck. He's worth too much money.
You really think it bothers him at this fucking point? He don't give a shit. No. But at this point, normally we would be flipping up that really cool gift to let all our video viewers know that we were about to enter the pit. But unfortunately, we have got a lack of competition showing up on the board here. So instead, I think what we're going to do is flip over, and because he was late, we're going to give the kid homework again, and we're going to proceed forward with a face-off between the two of us in the pit again, and make the kid come back and do his homework and watch the end of the fucking episode and give us another ruling here and make him give us a point by point like we did last time. I got a counter. I got 5 questions. We got a couple minutes left. You down?
Yeah, I'm down. Let's do it.
All right. So to make this fair, because we got 2 shit stacks of cards here to deal with real quick, I will turn on a little Eddie and the Arsons real quick so we can peruse the cards real quick, because I got to get familiar with a couple of fights real quick off the top of my head.
Oh, I already got a good question, but there's one I want to be able to take the reign on at least one question.
Yeah.
There's some fucking is there along with fucking strike cards.
I still remember when it was safe to go outside. Now I'm so used to gunshots that I sleep through them at night. I'm falling to pieces. We're fighting.
The Arson's tune has ended. I have perused some fights here. So I figure we will go first two traditional. I will let you go with the second two questions, and then I've got a fifth question here. Since we'll likely need it for the ultimate determination here. How's that sound?
Well,
We'll go the first two questions traditional, co-main and then main for the first two questions. Then you can take the next two questions. You can pick what the next two questions are. And then I've got a fifth question here I want us both to give our opinion on for the final determination factor when he has to give the round out judge.
oh, so are we talking main, co-main on the UFC card or the Bellator card?
So that's why I want to go traditional here. So we can go for the co-main, which of the two co-mains is better, and then which of the mains. That way we get a chance to potentially talk about both cards for both questions.
Sounds good to me.
All right. So we will kick it off with the traditional first question here then. We will go with, since we have the Bellator and UFC cards both taking place Saturday night this weekend upcoming, of the two cards, Bellator and the UFC, which of the two do you feel has the better co-main event this weekend and why? And as the returning now champion, I will give you first question here.
I'm gonna go flat out right here and say the UFC, fuck this, because I don't like Ian Kunalaba, and Devin Clark I could give two fucks about. However, on Bellator's co-main event, there's one Mr. Neiman Gracie. That dude is worth fucking watching. Look, the Gracie lineage, that name says it all. That's all you have to know on why it's worth watching. However, he's also a Gracie that does have some hands. So that makes him a worthwhile investment in Bellator. They made a great decision in picking him up. And seeing what he has done so far, he's had a hiccup or two. But for the most part, he's been pretty fucking good. And who came up with this shitty fucking co-main event on fucking UFC side of the house? What a terrible fucking choice. To be honest, I would have much rather seen fucking Raquel Pennington and Kinzad as the fucking goddamn co-main event than those two dickwads. I'm watching the Bellator co-main event.
I can understand that. So, on that note, I will give my retort, as it were. To the surprise of probably no one, I as well will agree. The better of the two co-main events of the weekend is absolutely the Bellator card. No one expects anything out of Ian Cutelaba or Devin Clark other than a very sloppy swing fest, very reminiscent of Josh Burns and fucking Sam Shoemaker we saw last weekend. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be that entertaining. On the other hand, we have Neiman Gracie coming off of the second loss of his professional career, a very, very hard fought decision against Jason Jackson, who is likely the next man up for the title shot in that division. On the other hand, Mark Lemminger is no fucking slouch. So we not only have a very legitimate opponent for Neiman Gracie, but we have a Neiman Gracie coming back off of his second ever professional loss. We saw him shake the rust off and come back from the first one and get the win in a submission factory against John Fitch. But this is a whole different breed. After that win, he took a hard loss. So can he bounce back again? I'm way more interested to know that than what the fuck Ian's going to do.
Right there with you on that. As a whole, that's a shit show.
I agree. So, for the follow-up, obviously, we have to go with the standby here. Of these two crazy fucking cards we have got this weekend, which of the two has the better main event and why? So I will take this one first. I have to say, without a doubt, again, we go back to the Bellator side of things. Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann is going to be an entertaining matchup. We know Ryan Spann has some wrestling ability, but he's already said he doesn't have any interest in that. He wants to knock Anthony Smith out for talking shit, which Anthony Smith hasn't done. I don't think he has what it takes, but that I don't think nearly is interesting as the fact that we have got Yoel Romero making his fucking debut at 205 pounds. And not just that, but he's doing it against Mr. Wonderful himself, the man who is the antithesis to my favorite Bellator fighters, both Liam McGeary and LDV the Swarm. My dudes have both been dispatched by this fucking douchebag, and I would love nothing more than to see a jacked Yoel Romero at 205 beat the shit out of him and give me a little redemption for it.
All right. Well, there's obviously a little a sway on why you're choosing this fight. All right.
I mean,
I can understand that. Look, I can understand that. I get it. I'm a McGeary fan as well myself. So I get that. However, I have to go opposite of this because I don't care to watch a juiced up Yoel Romero fight an aging fucking Mr. Wonderful Davis. To be quite honest, both of those two could fucking hang it up and I wouldn't be sad about it. However, on the other side of this, I'm going to go out here and say something really fucking strange. This fight should not be happening. Anthony Smith and Ryan Spann should not be happening. Spann does not deserve a shot at Anthony Smith. Not by a country fucking mile, in my opinion. But you got to fill cards, and Anthony Smith will take a fight. He don't give a flying fuck. So here's what I'm going to say about the both of these cards. I don't care if I miss both of these main events. Both of them. Fuck them both. And I like Anthony Smith. And I like the other fight they've got going on, but fuck them both. I don't like them enough to care about either one of them. So I'm going out off a fucking hard deep end here and saying fuck both of them. Tune into the People's Co-main event on one of them because one of those has got to be better than that shit.
I can see that as well. So, with that said, I will give you third question, sir.
So, knowing what we know about the shit cards that there are right here, we're going to go completely off kilter here. And when I say completely off kilter, we're not even going to talk these cards specific. Of any upcoming event, what is your most looked forward to fight? Let's say from here to the end of the fiscal year, December. What is your most anticipated fight that you're looking forward to watching?
Let's see what card this is on. Quick shit. Well, I'll let you go first on this one here, so that way it'll give me a minute to look mine up because I know the fight. I just got to find out where the fuck the card is.
Just throwing curveballs out here. I'll tell you my most anticipated fight, and it probably will not be everybody's most anticipated fight. We're talking Saturday, October 30th, Blachowicz versus Teixeira. For this reason and this reason only, that I am looking so forward to this fight. This is the last chance, the very absolute last chance that we're going to see Glover Teixeira ever get another title shot. Either he wins or that is it. Look, there's no way he works himself back for another shot if he loses to Blachowicz. However, if he wins, he's going to be one of the oldest guys outside of Randy Couture to ever gain a belt in the light heavyweight division at that age. So I'm saying there could be another little piece of history there, but that's why I'm excited about that fight. Not necessarily the fight itself, but because of what's at stake for it. And to be quite honest, Glover Teixeira seems to have gotten better as he's gotten older, which is a little fucking weird, man. Well into his 40s, and he seems to be a lot better than he used to be. So, I mean, there could be some fireworks there, not to mention Polish fucking power across the fucking octagon. Oh, watch out for those little feet.
Put that down real quick so I got a note of it. Okay, so for my most looked forward to matchup, I am actually going a week ahead of TJ's here to the UFC 268 card being headlined, unfortunately, by Usman versus Covington, but no one gives a fuck about that. No one's tuning into that fucking card for that fight. The fight that people are tuning into that card to watch is Sean Strickland versus Luke Rockhold, because this fight is the only fight on that card that has a legitimate chance of not actually taking place, because it has already been publicly declared that if Sean Strickland sees Luke Rockhold at Whole Foods, he's going to smack him in the parking lot, and he's willing to take the charge for it. He doesn't give a fuck. He is going to hold Luke Rockhold physically accountable for the shit he has talked, because it's a small world and they live in the same fucking bubble of an area. And he has already said, I will take that charge to bitch slap you, to show you that there are real world consequences. And if we don't run into each other before then, when we see each other in the cage, I'll make you wish I had caught you before then. That's a fucking fight I'm wanting to tune into.
That's a good answer, man. I like that. I do remember hearing him say that. That was when he was talking to Helwani, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
That was fucking fantastic. Strickland is a fucking amazing human being. Look,
he is off the fucking chain, dude.
He's a straight fucking shooter, and knowing that, look, he knows he can fight, but he doesn't have to. But he's that similar mindset of even Jorge Masvidal, where fuck it, I'll fight you in the street. I don't have to get paid to do this.
3-piece and sodas can be given backstage. Real accountability happens.
That's a good answer. I have to give my nod of approval to that one. Definitely not where I thought you were going with that, but fucking well played, because that is definitely a good idea in there. If that comes to fruition, hopefully Luke doesn't go to fucking Whole Foods anytime soon.
That's what I said. I'm legitimately okay with either way that one plays out. Either Sean's gonna see that bitch at Ruka, or he's gonna see that motherfucker at Whole Foods, and we're gonna get a 1 to 5 finger say to the face moment in real fucking life, or they're gonna lock him in a fucking cage together, and then Luke's got nowhere to go, and you done talked all that shit, and we've seen how historically that goes for Luke.
That's it.
Don't say nothing about his feet. That's the last thing you want to do, Luke. Just leave it alone.
Surprised he didn't bring that up to him. Fuck.
Oh my god.
Oh shit.
I had to.
Although, that does tie pretty well in with my answer, and fucking Luke's talking about his feet and shit. Oh fuck. That's fucking fantastic. Those two played well off of each other. Well done, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Well, the other question that I had fucking lined up for a couple weeks now, because this is one that I always want to hear. Right now, with who is active on the roster, and also people who have retired, if you could make a dream match, what would your dream match be? Any weight class, as long as they're same weight class, or did fight in that weight class at some point. Because there's always a thought that I have every once in a while where I'm thinking, because it can go a million different fucking ways. And believe me, it changes from day to day for me when I'm thinking about this shit. Random daydreams going off into random places. I'm just saying, like, I would love to have seen in their primes.
Okay.
Quite a few different fighters fight.
Damn, he's wrong weight class. That doesn't work yet. Okay.
You mean tell me you've never thought about what you would think for a dream matchup? Like if it could happen to fighters in their prime?
Not at the same weight class. When I think dream matchup, I always think fucking completely off the wall, and I put two dudes who are nowhere near the same weight class together.
He says Demetrius Johnson and Stipe Miocic.
I always my default go-to is DJ versus Yoel. It's like the fucking what you call it, Austin Powers, the dance scene from fucking Dr. Evil and Mini-Me, only with combat. Like, I think that would be hilarious.
Oh, since you're not quite there, I'll take the lead on this one then. Okay. Since you're not quite there. One of my all-time favorite fighters, albeit in the news lately, he's been in there way too much for doing some stupid shit. Still BJ Penn to this day. BJ Penn, this is part of the reason why I loved him so much. He fought up and down the weight classes. He went up as high as light heavyweight and all the way down to the bottom of the barrel in those 135-pound divisions. He's fought every fucking weight class in the UFC, which for me, watching him growing up was fucking, and I say growing up loosely because I was already a fucking adult when BJ was fucking fighting, but him in his prime against a current fighter in his prime, which I think would be fucking really interesting, would be to see him fighting Izzy in his prime, because those two in their prime would have made for one hell of a mix-up at any weight class that they wanted to make it at. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, we all know where Izzy fights already. So let's just say, in this case, specifically, we'll keep it directly at middleweight. BJ Penn had fought at middleweight. Those two right now, if they were both in their primes, that would have made for a very interesting matchup because BJ Penn could box. Look, he was known as a boxer. His Brazilian jiu-jitsu was pretty good, but he was also primarily known as a boxer. So the striking war between him and Adesanya would have been great. However, downside to that being, Izzy would have probably leg kicked the shit out of him because that was something BJ was never good with, was leg kicks. However, leg kicks weren't prominent when BJ was fucking in his prime. So
yeah, it wasn't a thing yet either. That's right. Okay, so I got you here. We're going the same weight class, and this still has to be a little bit of technically, because when this first gentleman competed, there literally weren't weight classes yet. So if we're going dream matchup, same weight class here, I am going to say Royce Gracie, who competed at 178 pounds of his own volition, against Anderson Silva in his prime, the middleweight fucking GOAT. You could split the difference and say they could have met at 180 pounds, and I think that would have been accommodatable for both of them. And the jiu-jitsu would be very comparable, but the movement of Silva versus the rigidity of Royce, he almost wanted all those boxers and those big strikers to come at him. He would stand still and wait so that he could get his fucking hands on you. Whereas Anderson is the fucking that dipping and dodging, moving motherfucker. You can't grab what you can't grab, literally. And if you can't grab him, and that was all Royce's game, that changes the whole world when you've got a guy who can A, compete with you in the jiu-jitsu skill, but then B, outmove you when you're trying to stay flat-footed and use your own lack of movement against you. That could change the entire game. And because they were quite literally an entire combat sports lifetime apart from each other, we'll never know how that could have actually played out. But peak versions of both of them were right about the same size, very similar stylistically. I think it could have been a fucking awesome dream matchup.
Good God, yeah. Just throwing another little fun one out here, because this is not somebody anybody ever really thinks about very often. I was always a fan of the Beast, Dan Severn. Just this one, not on towards the fucking thing at all. But right now, with the current UFC heavyweight, I would have loved to have seen him fought Stipe Miocic.
Dude, that would have been a hell of a fun slobber knocker. As bouncy as Stipe is at heavyweight, like, that was always Severn's thing. He was on his tiptoes, man. He was bouncing on his tiptoes. He was an ice cream cone shaped dude, but he was like almost Mike Tyson's Punch Out-esque, always bouncing on his tiptoes, ready to go, springs coiled, ready to fucking unload.
I'm just saying. Or even, I'll even go this far. he would have been fun to watch against DC too.
Fuck yeah, he could have
Those two wrestling heavy motherfuckers with the amount of stamina that both of them have. And I give DC a lot of credit for that because as big as that boy was, he always had a gas tank. That would have been a really cool match just because I'm into those big fucking heavyweights who are just unnaturally gifted athletes. And I say unnaturally because you look at them and you go, that shouldn't be able to do that.
Yep.
Like
I agree.
DC, for example, you would look at him and you should go, yeah, there's not an athletic bone in his body, but credit where credit is due. As much as I dislike him, he's one athletic motherfucker.
I completely agree.
But yeah, fun little question that always tingles in the back of my mind of, and look, that shit changes from day to day. You can ask me tomorrow, I will probably have a different dream matchup, and it's constantly changing because, I mean, don't get me wrong, I do wander into the what if realm of what happens if this itty bitty little bantamweight fights this fucking light heavyweight? Like what happened?
My typical dream is like take the most obscure extremes from either end. Like I want to see Kimbo and Sakuraba.
Like what happens if Piryan decides to fight fucking Jan Blachowicz?
Right? Yeah, like I want to see fucking Ngannou versus Jose Aldo. Like I want the weird shit, damn it.
I think that's where the UFC video game comes into play.
Exactly. And that's how my brain works. It's those kind of fucking ridiculous matchups. That's right.
Yeah. No, so fun little thing to do though. It just something that I'd been toying with the idea. I'm like, how the fuck do we bring this up on a fucking on a Thursday night show? And that seemed to be fitting this week.
And keeping in that vein, I've got a great, completely out of the fucking box fifth question here that I was kind of curious to hear how the fucking kid was going to answer, but now we don't get to. So we're going to fucking answer it just the same here. So for those of you who did not see, during this past summer replay of the Olympics, there was a young man by the name of Gable Stevenson who won an Olympic gold medal and quite literally lived out the meme. Bite the fucking medal and wink, like champagne spray, the whole fucking meme. He lived it out for real. Very talented young man in the wrestling world. Very, very highly sought prospect. Dana White obviously said, I'm very interested. Come to Vegas. Let's fucking talk. Unfortunately, nothing came of that. He never went to Vegas. They never talked. What we found out this week actually happened was during the entire time, he failed to mention that he was being courted by none other than Vince McMahon. And when Dana White, and I directly quote Gable Stevenson here, didn't come hard enough for me, it made my mind up and I decided to sign a contract with the WWE. So as soon as he finishes college, he will be making a direct entrance into the WWE. Obviously, that is a big step for any college athlete. He's already got the Olympics on his credit. He's a fucking college stud to begin with. But here's my question. With both opportunities set forward and being a legitimate athlete, so you have the genuine opportunity to take the path either way to start your career. Shut up, dog. Did Gable Stevenson make the correct decision in signing that WWF contract and kind of trying to honey dick Dana, but not getting him to do it? Or did he fuck up and he's trying to use Vince to play back at Dana, which will inevitably backfire on him because they're friends? So
I'll take lead on that. No, I'll put it this way. I don't think the kid fucked up at all. The kid made the right business decision for him at the time. And I say this because you know what? I just want a fucking gold medal. You want me because I can sell your business. This is no different than WWE back in the day signing Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle, an Olympic medalist champion. Look, this is no different. Except for this time, it could have been another set Henry Cejudo-esque, and I say that loosely because, well, Gable Stevenson's not as big of a douchebag as yeah, so I'm just saying they could have he could have fixed the shit that Henry Cejudo did. He's not, look, the kid he's fucking smart. He played it exactly how he needed to get the guaranteed payday, because they're gonna fucking pay him. Because he said, you guys will pay me. He said, I don't care as long as the fucking numbers are right. That was his kind of wording. He didn't say it exactly like that, but that's what it played out to. So guarantee he already had somebody in his corner saying, those numbers are good. Run with the fucking money unless they give you a better offer. And when somebody decides not to show up and fondle the balls of the new Olympic champion, you'll lose out. And to be quite honest, I think Dana may have shot himself in the foot. But yeah, I think Gable made the right fucking choice. Not that I agree with you going from college wrestling to professional wrestling.
Right.
And I say that as in, yes, it's still athletic, but not the same thing.
Right.
And you're just as likely to get fucking hurt there as you are in MMA.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I look at that the opposite way. We have seen that, yes, Brock being the only real example that you can come from the WWE to the UFC and make it work to a certain degree. But on the other side of that, we've got all of the reasons to show that that does not work, a la Jack Swagger, a la fucking CM Punk. We have seen time and time again, if you put the time in to devote your style, your lifestyle, your personality, your personal style to becoming that WWE-esque style, you lose out on the time that you need to be investing in your striking, in your jiu-jitsu, in your defensive work, in your MMA overall adaptation from just Olympic wrestling. That is a great base, but if you take the time to stay with wrestling and acting like professional wrestling is, you lose out on the crucial time you need to develop by learning all of that now before it gets too tough to learn after you've already beaten yourself up a little bit in the pro wrestling circuit, because everybody knows that's not a fucking day job walk in the park. You're going to get some bumps and bruises along the way. And in doing that, it makes it that much harder to properly transition. So I think Gable actually shot himself in the foot. I think Dana opened the door and said, hey, come down and we'll make you a sweet fucking offer. And Gable was like, if you're not flying me down with an offer, I'm not coming to see you. So I think Vince knew that the kid liked shiny shit and hung a check in front of him. And the kid went,
you know, I agree with a good portion of that sentiment. However, I still think he's going to learn plenty of MMA base through current WWE. Because if you look at what they're doing now, a lot of it looks pretty fucking MMA-esque. So you're going to learn. You might not learn it the exact right way, but you're going to have a base there to work off of. Not to mention,
yeah, it's more conventional style than it was legitimate act wrestling than it used to be.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree.
The second they signed like Ronda Rousey over there, you saw an immediate fucking change in the way that things were going over there, which not necessarily a bad thing for them. It's transitioned into more of a looks similar, and I say similar loosely, to mixed martial arts, because there's a lot of those wrestlers now that are implementing those types of things in there. We're no longer seeing the Hulk Hogan leg drop, which is still kind of a bummer because 11-year-old me is screaming at the top of my lungs, how did you miss that on the Ultimate Warrior? But you know,
right. Well, and to be fair, I think at least a percentage of that is in the heyday of professional wrestling in the 70s and the 80s. There wasn't a whole lot of professional MMA being done for people to see. So what they saw was professional wrestling, and for what the average person knew, that's what fighting looked like. It was either boxing in a ring with big puffy gloves, or you were in a ring with stretchy ropes and dudes in fucking unitards wrestling each other. That was like the alternative. So people didn't know as much as they do now, whereas you can flip from the WWE channel over to the YouTube channel for UFC and look at what real fights look like in real time. So they almost have to try and, I don't want to say mimic, but model realistic fighting a little better than they had to back in the day, and I think that has a part to play in it as well.
You know, maybe he's more into the art of it too. Because look, there is definitely an art to professional wrestling. Look, it's not just the acting portion of it or the athletics. There's literally an art form to it. Because if you don't do it right, it looks like shit.
Right.
And look, we all know that it is fake. And I say fake loosely because people get injured. They do get hit with fucking chairs for real. It's not like they're fucking love tapping them. They're literally fucking swinging for the fences.
Documentaries. Yeah, there's some great documentaries out there that'll show you just how fucking real that shit actually is. Yeah. It's not, it might be stage or scripted to a degree, but there's a whole lot of reality in it. A lot of people don't take for granted. That's why I might make light of it, but I will always absolutely consider professional wrestlers as athletes as well, because I know that shit's just as dangerous and you have to be in shape to be able to do that shit.
Yeah, you look at some of those guys now that like we're in the, I will say from the late 80s or mid to late 80s all the way up through the 90s and into the early 2000s, guys like I know this is an MMA show and I'm going to talk wrestling here for a second. God, if Fresh was here, this would be fucking great. But guys like the Nature of Mankind, Dude Love, fucking Cactus Jack, all the same guy, by the way. Yep. What he put himself through for that fucking business, if you look at him now, dude, he's disabled pretty much, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's moving. You got guys like Diamond Dallas Page, who was fucked up beyond belief. Yoga saved his fucking life to where
he turned it around. Yeah,
he turned it around. But there's some of those other guys out there, like, that you look at wheelchair bound, fucking
Undertaker. Look at the Undertaker fucking interview they did of him a week after he officially retired, where he's on fucking crutches struggling to get out of his truck.
Yep. Fuck, like, when he was right after he retired with the fucking Joe Rogan podcast, you could see it.
Yeah, man. Like, they don't all come out good from that shit. So it's absolutely real, and it's hard on the body for sure.
To be quite honest, it's funny looking at that versus looking at MMA fighters and how much better they come out in retirement, even after they've had a shitstorm of a career. Yeah, like right now, a lot of them look better than those professional wrestlers. It tells you what kind of bumps and bruises they take. And they also do it on a way more regular basis, too, which definitely plays a part into it because they don't get time to heal up. Because you got to do 2-3 shows a week. Yeah, guess what? You're going to be a hurting unit.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. But it is about that time that we are going to get the fuck on out of Dodge here. So at this point, if folks need to find out the best place to get themselves some fried cheese curds and maybe a little bit of direction on how to find themselves a Kenosha crippler, how can they catch you after the show, Galty?
9:30 Central Times, right here on the YouTubes every Wednesday night. And of course, here as many Thursdays as I can possibly fucking be. Always, I'll give you directions. You know, I'll even send you on your way with a road beer if you need one. Huh? I'm a nice guy like that.
There you go. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Always appreciated. That being said, we are going to call that all for this particular episode here. So thank you to everyone, whether you are here tuned in with us live. We see you guys in the chat and we appreciate you. We were catching this on a replay. We appreciate you just the same. If those of you who are seeing us on Thursday night on the video, if you need some delicious background ear tunage, you can also catch us in the all audio format, face free, anchor.fm/I'm No Joe. Always on all the social medias, facebook.com/I'm No Joe, Instagram/I'm No Joe. If you appreciate what we do around here and you want to help, patreon.com/I'm No Joe. That being said, we also have a brand new Discord server. Link is in the description, whether you are listening or watching. It is also running along the bottom. We have a brand new viewer question section, so you guys can ask your questions and we will answer them here live on the air for you wonderful folks. But that being said, we are going to get the fuck out of here. That is all we've got for this particular episode. So remember, folks, until next time, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything. Unless you forgot, I am a real American. I am a real American.
as lightning. In front it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times